The environment abstraction inside the Spring has two responsibilities, and one of which that we've been seeing is activating the profiles and also specifying the default profiles. The second and one of the important things that the environment abstractions inside the application context does is that it is responsible for providing key value pairs, and it gathers all these values from a bunch of property sources, like from the operating system environments or from the JVM runtime when it actually runs the application. So, and also we are able to add as many as property sources as we like, and the Spring will actually go within them and will try to resolve the value of a provided key with a custom precedence and ordering. So let's just dive in and show how it is done. Actually, inside the application context, you could access this environment. Get environment. And we've worked with the profile related stuff with the environment. We have this get property methods that you can see that you pass some key and ask for a value. And as I said, the Spring will add and pre-populate two property sources. And one of them is the operating system environments. The other one is the JVM related key values. And those two will be added here, and we can ask a bunch of questions here and ask for a value. But we could also add our own property source. And that is by one way of adding the property source is like by adding an annotation here, property source, and giving the class path. And for example, specifying a file in the class path. Like for example, let's say, let's add a property file here. For example, it could be or let's name it properties.txt. Okay, now we can tell that we want our properties.txt file. And okay, it says that it cannot resolve, but we'll see why. And here we could say, for example, let's add a bunch of key values. For example, let's say that car type, for example, equals truck, or any other key value, or we could set the key as, for example, a.b.c.color equals. We could have any naming convention, and that is a standard properties file. And now that we've added here this one, we should be able to ask for values, like say get environment dot get property, and ask for the car type. And let's print it. Okay. And it is printing null, and that is, I think, because it's not picking up this file. And let's see why. Okay, the problem was that first off, we should not add two slashes here, only a single slash. And also the properties file should be added inside the resources folder, not the class, not between the classes. And we could add the resources to the main folder, like adding the directory. And we could move the properties to the resources folder. And the last thing that we should do is that we should change this class to configuration class. So we put the property source annotation where the configuration annotation resides. So now if we run it, you'll see that we have access to the track. We have access to the value of this key. And we could set this key to the environment variables, or we could set it with the JVM runtime variables. And so you can see that it works. Now I want to, instead of asking the value directly, I want to use the @value annotation. So With the at value annotation, we could do a lot of things that we'll be seeing when we go to Spring expression language. But one of the benefits of using the at value annotation is asking for the value from the environment variables. Now we could do that. Let's say that here we have this private string, which is, for example, my type. And let's say that we want to set and specify the type of the car from the properties files. We could do that like this. Like we could say this value, the value should be populated from the value, and we should write this $sign, and inside the braces we should pass the name of the key. So it was car type, I believe. And let's print this my type and see if it works. Type equals plus car type or my type. And if we run it, you can see that the type equals truck. So this value has been asked and requested, queried from the one of the property sources. And because it's only inside this one, the value has been grabbed and has been injected here. And we have added our own property source. Another thing that we could do is that we could extend the property source class, and we could add a property source that way. We could do something like this, like, for example, my property source, and we should extend the property source from the Spring, and also I think the constructor, and let's actually give it some name, my properties. And here this method will be called each and every time a value is asked for a key. So the key will be passed here and we have to return the value. Now let's add it first. Let's say that vi.getEnvironment dot get property sources, and we are going to add a property source. So the other property source has been added by the Spring by default. So and we can add our own property source, and we could change the precedence. We could add it first, with the highest precedence, and we have to instantiate the class. Now it will be asked, and we can return. And there is, I believe, the method that says if we contain the property or not. So and by default it is if the value is not null, it means that we contain it. So let's get here and override that method as well, contains property, and let's say that we provide everything. Now because this property source has the highest precedence, and because it answers yes to every question, we have to return a value. And let's return, for example, asking for name as the value of this key, and let's see if this is being called or not. Now if we run this, you can see that the type has been changed to asking for car type, and it is not actually going to this property source anymore because we have added as the first with the highest precedence, and because we've claimed that we are capable of answering all the key values, and you can see how it's done actually. So it's mostly used with this add value annotation, and then we could configure the application with all sorts of configurations, and that is a powerful thing.